Hi guys, this is the next part of the series, part 4 of the roster deep dive series. I also got some feedback that gameplay would be good. Unfortunately, in this series, it's a little bit difficult to do that much gameplay, as I really am trying to keep each video to less than 10 minutes long right now. But what I'll do is I'll start another series on gameplay deep dives with individual teams. You guys can see that there. In this video, we're going to talk about the Sinister 6. It's a brand new team that just became farmable, and it's designed to be a relatively early game farm. Mysterio's in the raid store, Rhino's in the blitz store, Vulture's in the arena store, and Shocker and Goblin both have a node that are fairly early in the game. So you should be able to farm them fairly easily. The team itself is not super meta. They do counter defenders fairly well, but they don't really do much else. They are good, though, for unlocking 2 legendary characters, Shuri and Invisible Woman, who are both pretty solid standalone tunes, although they're both also not super endgame meta. Invisible Woman, the jury is a little bit out depending on her stats, but chances are she won't be nearly as good as, for example, Phoenix. That being said, being able to do 2 for 1 and all legendary characters are worth getting. This is a team that's worth putting a lot of time into at the beginning of the game. So we're going to go through each one, but because they're not meta, because the tunes you're unlocking are not meta for the legendary events, I actually recommend keeping these guys at 5-star for quite a while and not really going past that until you get a lot of the other tunes in the game. And because of that also, I don't really recommend bringing these guys up beyond tier 9, level 60, gear tier 9, level 60. I just don't think it's going to be worth putting much more into them, at least not at the beginning when there's so many other tunes to level that are going to provide you much more value. But because they're early game and because they're relatively easy to get and you get the 2 for 1, they are worth getting, and they are worth getting to 5 stars. So let's dive into each one's kit. All right, Mysterio. So Mysterio has a couple things that are probably not worth getting to level 6 right away. One is Smoke and Mirrors. Mysterio's not there to do damage. He does laughable damage. Heal block to 2 enemies is really good, so I'd probably bring it to 5, but then not get the 6th one. His passive is definitely one you want to get to level 4. Master Illusion is definitely one to get to level 6, and his basic is definitely one you want to get to level 6. So those are all really good to get. Let's take a look at Shocker. So Shocker has his basic. Now, you'll get a decent amount of value out of his basic, but because, a lot of these guys are the 2-turn burst, you're probably not going to use it that often because you're going to almost always open with the special and then open with followed by the ult. But if you wanted to skimp on one, you could definitely leave the basic at level 5. You don't need the extra armor right away. It's not that much extra armor. You definitely want the extra damage, so you can definitely skimp on the armor for a bit, although it's not a bad upgrade in itself. Alright, let's look at Green Goblin. Green Goblin is a blaster, just like Shocker, so you definitely want to be upgrading a lot of things there. If you do choose one you want to skimp on, it's the basic because you're going to open with special and ultimate almost all the time. So you can feel free to skimp on the basic a little bit. Okay, Rhino. Rhino's basic is not really that good. You're pretty much never going to be using it in the first 2 turns, so you could definitely leave that at level 5 if you want to. Rhino Hide, because he's the tank, you definitely want a lot of health on him. But if you did need a skimp because you wanted to wait and level up other characters, I think that's another area you can try to eke out a little efficiency. They're the ones you want level 6 for sure, though. Vulture is a really interesting character because at different modes of the game, different abilities of his are worth taking up. But I think in the terms of Sinister 6, I would probably leave this one at level 5, the basic. And then I would probably leave this one also at level 5, because he's not really there to do a ton of damage. But the other ones you definitely want to be level 6 on this one, because you want the minus speed bar to be as high as possible. Oops. And then this one, I'd probably leave this at level 3. The plus 20% chance to get deflect if an ally dies is not as so useful that you're going to be seeing it all happen that often. Vulture is definitely the most squishy of all the characters, so he's the most likely to die. So, getting a deflect on a really squishy character who will probably be pretty low health if you're losing your other characters is just not as useful. So yeah. So that's a Sinister 6. You can actually save a lot on T4 mats there. If you are going to, let's say Sinister 6 is your favorite guys for some reason, and you just want to pour a bunch of guys into them, Shocker's ult is probably the best one to get. So that's the one I would factor in. And then offense up to him for 2 turns, another one that I would consider doing. It's just that it's probably not worth putting your T4s into these guys. There's just so many better tunes out there. And yeah, these are really just early farm defender counters in war, as well as just getting the 2 legendary unlocks. Okay, next.